Today, the most talked about island in the world is Taiwan. This is where they make the chips that your smartphone, computer, tablet, and many other gadgets that you use every day are made. 80% of the world's trade passes through the Taiwan Strait. But the question is, who owns Taiwan and the strait? Beijing believes that both the strait and the island are their property. And for 70 years, they have been plotting how to reclaim and control all of this territory. So how did it come about that Taiwan seceded from China? Why is this island so important to the US? Why does China want it so badly, but is hesitant to attack Taiwan and take it for themselves yet? Taiwan produced 62% of all the chips in the world, which is about $1.6 trillion according to 2022 data. That is hundreds of countries buying something very necessary and important, and yet Taiwanese most of all. By the way, China, the US, Singapore, Japan, Germany, South Korea, the major economies of the world, are doing it. But none of them officially recognizes the existence of such a state as Taiwan, except for 14 brave countries, the names of which you hear most likely for the first time. But all of them recognize China, which considers Taiwan to be its territory, and this is enshrined in their constitution. But note that the Taiwanese themselves internationally call their country the Republic of China, and it is written in their constitution that they claim the entire territory of China. The first half of the 20th century, in the vast territory of China, there was a civil war for 22 years, from the 27th to the 50th. In the end, the war is won by the communists, and they create the Communist People's Republic of China. It is the one that is commonly referred to as China throughout the world. Nationalists will lose the war, and in order not to die at the hands of the victors, they and 2 million supporters cross the strait and find themselves on the island of Taiwan. There, Chiang Kai-shek creates his own state, which will never be called Taiwan. China is now the world's second largest economy, and Beijing makes a demand. If you recognize Taiwan, then you don't recognize us. And who can afford not to recognize China and quarrel with China? Therefore, Taiwan tries to show itself, to speak loudly about itself. For example, in 2003, the tallest building in the world at that time, Skyscraper 101, was built on the island. And here is the most interesting thing. The US position here is very clear. They are the ones who first put money and arms supplies into Chiang Kai-shek's regime, ignoring democratic values. To them, he was rather like a beautiful monkey, just a tool. Taiwan is ideal for creating a political and military misunderstanding under the belly of communist China, or as it is called in politics, a counterweight. But then the Americans, get closer to this very communist China. Why? To create a counterweight. Let's go back to Taiwan. The most sophisticated process for making the world's most expensive semiconductors is going on there right now. At mid-century, the Americans had no companies and no semiconductors, but they had cheap Taiwanese labor, which was very profitable for manufacturing. First, they sewed clothes and made toys for Western progressive society, and then they assembled Japanese and American consumer electronics. Taiwan has 15 million people, not the largest manufacturing in the world, but China has 1 billion. And of course, the rapprochement with Beijing is not just because of the Cold War, but because of the history of big money. After all, it is profitable to make money wherever you can. The Americans have officially stopped recognizing Taiwan, but continue to support it, both with arms and investment. One man is important here, a historical figure associated with Taiwan and the US. His name is Morris Chang. This man is equal in importance to Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, as he founded Taiwan's semiconductor industry. And he was to turn the island into a global factory, not just producing junk, but the gold mine of the 21st century, chips. In '58, Chang starts working at Texas Instruments as a simple laborer, but in 25 years he grows to vice president. He scrutinizes not only the production of chips, but also makes connections with all the high-tech companies of the world. In '85, the Prime Minister of unrecognized Taiwan invites Chang to return to the island and head a scientific institute of industrial technology. At that time, Taiwan was just a parts factory, but had already started to develop thanks to cheap labor, while China had 1 billion population. It was obvious that Taiwan would lose the competition. Something had to be done, and Chang came up with the right solution: invest in technology development and research to produce what he had worked with all his life: integrated circuits and chipsets. Chang is founding many startups with the goal of creating and manufacturing cutting-edge chips. And one of those startups is TSMC, which has become the place where almost all major companies buy chips: Sony, Microsoft, Qualcomm, Nvidia, AMD, Apple, and partly Intel. TSMC is not the only child of this revolution. In the late 80s, Acer opened a division for the production of chips. In '88 was founded Transcend, which became known for its flash drives. And then there's Asus. All of them became leaders in their fields. Thus, high technology has brought wealth and prosperity to Taiwan. And now, answer the question for yourself. Why does China need Taiwan so much? And why does the US need it as well? If Beijing gets all these production facilities and can handle them, it will have enough competence. China will be able to dictate any terms to the world, because the world economy now depends not only on oil, but also on microprocesses. And the main consumer is the United States. And it will not be possible to simply give them up.